Thanks for tuning in to this episode of I Have Something to Say, where subject matter experts are unafraid and unapologetic about sharing their perspectives regarding issues that impact our lives. They speak up because basically they give a shit. So if you're tired of canned answers and want to finally hear real people cut through the BS and talk about real issues, this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Sami Heyman Marrero from Urbander, and behind our mixer is our producer, Chris Majoka from UdoU. Hi, everyone, and welcome. I am so excited to have today with us my friend, la doctora, Dr. Anitza San Miguel, that is the founder of ASM Mentors. And this is a conversation that's been way, 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 way overdue. You know, we've been trying to schedule just a one-on-one just to catch up, right? But we've all been so busy trying to just navigate, virtual experiences and COVID and just trying to stay safe and healthy that we haven't had a moment. And so I'm just so excited, Anita, that you finally were able to join us and that I'm able to also have this moment with you so we can catch up while we record at the same time. So it's going to be kind of weird because we're good friends, right?
Yeah, no, I'm
And there's
super excited.
and there's so much that I want to know about what you're up to. And I just thought that, what the hell? Why don't we just record, while we're catching up? And so thank you for making this time because I know that you're super busy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Sami, for the opportunity to participate in your podcast. I mean, it took this recording for us to get together. I mean, like you said, we've gotten it together informally, but it's been more like, "Hi, how are you? Great to see you." But to sit down and have a conversation, I'm thrilled that we're having this time. But everything is doing, all doing well.
Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that. And so I wanted to catch up with you because I know that you work your academic, you put on your academic hat, as the dean of science for a major academic institution here in Central Florida, right? And so then I know that that has been near and dear to your heart and just having an impact on students and really working in that space. But I know that for several years now you've been working on marrying, right, your academic expertise, your entrepreneurship expertise, and also your training and coaching expertise, to really focus on mentoring. And it's such a huge, huge need in our community. And when I say in our community, in the Latino community, but also in Black and Brown communities overall, this access to mentors and people that look like us that can really help us guide us during these struggles. Let's just call it, I was going to say journey, but it's really,
It's a
sometimes,
journey of struggles.
yes, it's a journey of struggles, exactly, but celebrations too, right? And,
Yes.
and, and when you have the proper support and the proper guidance and people that you can lean into and access to say, ay, Dios mío, I don't know what to do next, right? Or I'm in a pickle. How do I get out of this situation? This is something that you have been hyper focused
Yeah.
in providing the right resources to people. And so I just wanted you to tell me how did you figure I'm going to transition or move or include this into my role as the dean of science, and why that initial stake into the science and innovation, right, space, and that void.
Well, to me, it's been an amazing journey. Right, all this time, I started as a scientist. That's where my career started, as a researcher, doing undergrad research, and then in full time. However, from there, I discovered education by teaching. I doing part time teaching, and that's where I infused the science and the education piece. And then moving fast forward because it was a couple, few years in there. I had a good friend of mine who shared with me an opportunity to participate from a course, the book Think and Grow Rich. I don't know if you're familiar with that book from
Mm-mm.
Napoleon Hill. And
No.
I remember she sent me this. It was through like a Facebook teaching, live teachings. And I'm like, why does she want to send me the thing? You know, is this like a pyramid scheme? What is it? And I totally ignore it. But there was that voice that's like, click on the link, I check it out. And I did. And that was a big pivotal moment for me because then I discovered that there was so much more out there. And I always had this feeling that even though I've been very successful in my career, um, that I had this feeling that there was more, right? This thirst of more. Let me what's next for me? I finish one thing and then it's like, what am I gonna do next? Out there. So after I learned, went through that program with the book Think and Grow Rich, I then started what I call my intentional growth journey. And that's where I discovered, wait, I've been mentoring and coaching through the years. And it everything turns back in the sense that my dissertation for my doctorate degree was about the lived mentoring experiences of Latina scientists and engineers. Right. So that
Mm.
was, 10 years ago or so. And now it's all coming back. And I'm like, wait, I've been coaching, I've been mentoring. Mentoring is dear to me because it was mentors, people who were key throughout my career, who helped me, who opened the path, who showed me, no, Anita, don't go that way. Maybe you should consider this other door, right? And showed me opportunity, connected me with people who said, this person is able to help you out, right? Touch on that door. So that's how it all came about, where I'm like, I'm going to put all this together. I don't know where I'm going. Yeah, this was back 3, 4 years ago, but I'm going to get it started. Right? And one of my mentors says, sometimes you got to just jump and develop your wings on your way down. You just have to take the risk. And that's where it all started. It all started with my intentional growth journey. It started when I decided, hey, I focus on my career so much, right? It's great. I've gone through the different ranks within education, right, up to a dean right now. Within science as researcher, I've done so many different things. I used to work at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office as well. So a lot of background there, but I forgot the most important person, Sami, and that person was me. Right? I forgot
Mm.
to focus on me and my own personal. What is it that Anitza wants? Right? And
Yeah.
that's where it all started.
That is fantastic. Yeah, I know, and I've seen you, right? And we've talked,
Mhm.
but it's been a while because we're kind of disjointed, right? Our community is a little bit disjointed because of COVID, and we're not connecting as often as we would like. But when we last spoke, when we bumped into each other, I don't go out, right? But we had this local women's organization that we're both part of, and it was like, oh, I need to go, and I'm so glad I did because we booked it that same day. We're like, we can't
We're like, we
meet.
gotta get together.
Yes, exactly, with mask and all, right? We're like, okay, we won't meet in person, but we'll make this happen because I think it's so important that we're able to touch base and know what strides we've each
Hmm.
made in our respective circles, because this is part of building social capital too, right? The more I know about what you're doing, the more I can say also, hey, what about this? Oh, hey, which happened, when we spoke, we can collaborate, right? We're in a place now where we're developing something too, that I think that there might be a possibility for collaboration. And so it's just fantastic, and the best part is that since these are relationships that are founded on trust and love, really, right? Love, because I love you, right?
Yeah, same here.
Where we're able to pick up where we left off. So I almost feel like no time has transpired since the last time that we sat together to have a cup of coffee. So this is
That
this
was
is
a few
really
years
great.
ago.
So That's what, well, yes. I mean, it's been almost 2.5 years at this point, right? Or 2 years now. Yeah. We kind of haven't really taken this deep dive in terms of having a conversation. And so what is this? What is ASM Mentors? What are you focused on doing? And just talk to me a little bit about what you're cooking up.
Well, what I'm cooking up, right? What is ASM mentors? ASM mentors, right? What I focus on is to help leaders like you, right? Leaders. We're all leaders in our community, in our families, right? In our jobs. Sometimes people tell me, like, I'm not a leader. I'm like, yes, you are a leader, right? You don't need a title to be a leader. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, sometimes, that's what happens, right? People don't see themselves as leaders because they might not have this fancy title out there. But the reality is that we are all leaders. So I help leaders maximize, unleash that potential that is with them, right? That potential that is in you that you might be know it's there, but you have no clue where to start. Or there's things that you need to work on, but you're like, I don't know if I should do this. I didn't, and that was me. I knew there was so much more for me out there. I knew I could give more, but I didn't know where to start, what to do. So that's why it's my passion to help leaders maximize their potential, discover that potential within them through how? Through coaching, mentoring, workshops. One of the things I love doing is facilitating personal growth workshops where you learn more. I have one coming up where we're going to be talking about, our purpose, our vision, our goals. And sometimes people are like, oh yeah, that's, we do that every year. No, let's do it intentionally. Do you really know what's your purpose? If I ask me, what's your purpose? Can you tell me what's your purpose? Right?
Yes,
Some
my purpose, I know what my
Well,
purpose is. Yes. My purpose is to get our communities, black and brown communities, to work together and stop working in silos so we can develop generational wealth and a legacy for our families. That's
perfect.
that's my purpose. Yes.
And I've come across people that I've asked them, "What's your purpose?" and they give me this stare look, like, I don't know." So that's part of following because it happened to me. Again, that for me, my questions 2 years ago after reading a book called "Called Out," my question was, "Hey, if I quit my job today, who am I?" That was a
Hmm.
question for me that
Hmm.
took me a while of reflection and knowing, and that's where a discovery. It's like, hey, this is my potential. I want to help others. I want to help others maximize that potential and unleash, because sometimes we know it's there, right? As a scientist, we talk about potential energy and kinetic energy. That potential energy is the energy that's stored, and that energy moves into kinetic energy when there's an outside, when there's a push. And sometimes we need that push, right? That push could be a book, could be a person, someone a mentor. It could be, an experience that then
Hmm.
triggers that to say, hey, I gotta get moving. I gotta move things
Yeah.
in
Yeah, to
place.
take action. Yes,
To
yes.
take
And I,
action.
yes, to take action. I think that that's like the quantum leap for
Hmm.
most people, right? Is allowing themselves to, how do you say, dispel or fears and sometimes lack of confidence too. And I speak from a place of being there, right? It's like, am I enough? Do I have the right skills or tools to actually make a difference or to do something or to move the needle, even if it's un poquito. And so, and you sometimes it's that self-doubt
Hmm.
that really prevents us. And it's the biggest hurdle, it's the biggest barrier, and it's actually self-imposed. That's the sad part, right? And so I feel that that's a big one, like a big one, just trying to grapple and tackle, that self-doubt is the first step, of one of the first steps, no, to be able to take action and feel like you're getting somewhere.
It is, and I will take it a step further, Sami. right? It's also your upbringing. It's your limiting belief. It's also how you've been programmed to do what you do, right?
Mm.
All those things, they start accumulating, right? Somewhere, right? That self-doubt came in because perhaps somewhere along the way, when you were a child, someone told you you cannot do it. That's
Mhm.
impossible. And what happened? It got there and back in your mind, right? It got into your subconscious. And now it's like, I can't do it. I didn't get in.
Mhm.
So how do we break from those beliefs? I did just remember mom and dad did the best they could under the current circumstances that they have. Right? So it adds into that self-doubt, the fear. What are people gonna say? Ay, ¿qué va a decir fulanita? No,
I see.
that's all that's it's very common. I we
Mhm.
experience I've experienced it myself. Ay, ¿qué dirán? No, well, at the
Mhm.
end of the day, look, this is your journey. Everyone
Mhm.
else is going on through their own journey. Right? Growth happens daily. Growth doesn't happen in a day. Right? So why worry about, right? We tend to worry and the fear and the worry and the anxiety. Right? When we keep adding all these things into the big pot, then you end up not doing anything. There's so much you can't even turn it, right? All that because there's so much in it that then
Yeah.
holds us back from being who we truly are and what we really want to do.
Yeah. And I think there's you know, when you're able to poco a poco, right? Come to and you learn how to show up and how to exercise your voice or how to be quiet and listen and or how you can or not contribute to a particular situations because sometimes you know it's best if you don't, right? Chip in. You know, it's like, you know what? This is working just fine, right? And so then learning how to take a step back, I think that it's so liberating. I got to say it's so liberating when, you know, you don't trouble yourself with all of these concerns about what people think or what they might say and just do what you feel like you need to do, driven by this gut feeling that
Mm-hmm.
you have to do it. You have to do it. Sometimes we procrastinate. I got to say that last year I had two things that I wanted to do and I won't get into it that you know I shared with friends, with close friends that I just happened to be on a phone call and say, "Hey, by the way, you know, what do you think about, you know, and they weigh in and you value so much the opinion of people that you love and care about that then also, even though that you think you've conquered self-doubt, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I thought this was a kick-ass idea and now maybe not so much, right? Because I
And, and
shared it, you
and
know,
keep
with
in
somebody
mind,
that I love and respect, but yeah, so but I'm going to do it anyway. I just take into account the person's feedback so that way I said, you know what? Maybe they have a point. Maybe I just need to adjust it, right? Because I have to be mindful of how it might be perceived, right? By others. So yeah, so it's an interesting thing, this thing about self-doubt, because even though you think you're on the other side of it, it creeps in, right? It's up
well, the
it's
reality
up
is,
ahead. Yeah.
you know, like you said, it creeps in those little gremlins that show up every so often. The important is how are you going to work with them? Are you going to let them take over? Or are you going to let them say, hey, you don't have space? Yes, I hear you. And this is what I'm going to do. Because sometimes we also have people around us who love us, they care for us, they're very well intentioned. And you might be like, hey, Sammy, I have a great idea. I need to all this. And they're like, what? Are you really going to do that? And then all that energy that you had, it goes like, wait, wow, goes all the way and that then what happens? Your self doubt comes in. Maybe they're right. Maybe, no, maybe I should do. But I think we all have, you know, what we call that intuition. And
Mhm.
I've learned that when I get that nudge, I need to follow that nudge. Right? That is
Mhm.
that my intuition telling me this is where you need to go. Or
Mhm.
hey, I want to stop here and reconsider. But it's something that you learn along the way. And I remember sometimes I didn't know what it was. right? It took me years to know that, hey, that's my intuition telling me, no, maybe you should not do this. One of the things I've learned sometimes, I remember earlier in my career, I might find, a job posting. I'm like, oh, this sounds good. This is great. Or people would send it to me. And then I look at it, and next thing like you're saying, I procrastinated and leave it there. I learned that when that happened, at least for me, uh, that was not for me. Right? Like I wasn't gonna put my energy there because it wasn't for me. But it took me years to learn that that was part of my own process, right, of figuring and deciphering where I was gonna go. But definitely
Mm.
that self doubt, it's something that always creeps in. The question is, how are we gonna work with it? Are we gonna let them in, or are we gonna say, hey, thank you for the for the comment, and I'll reconsider?
Yes. Or I use it as value to
Hmm.
maybe massage, right? And improve the original idea too. So I think there's yeah. So it's just interesting, all of these dynamics. How I have a question for you because I know that I started the year, I took a long break, which I haven't done in over a decade. And I think the last time that I took a 2 week break was for my honeymoon. Imagine.
Oh
And
wow,
we're gonna
we're
be
way
18 years,
overdue.
way almost 2 decades ago, right? And so then I came back, and that first week was like, oh my God, is what my life was like, right? Before I took this break. And I started the year swinging, right? I'm like, oh my God, estoy ready, ¿verdad? To just conquer the world. And I still am. But I've come to notice that it's hard, right? To juggle all of these things. And I think setting expectations is critical. As I move forward, right? With just the people around me, whether they be clients or their community partners, collaborators, just everybody, right? My family, right? Just because it's a lot. And so my question to you is how do you, for example, juggle, right, your responsibilities as dean, right, of a academic institution, and such an important department to science, right, as we're
Yes.
heading into innovation and technology, and all of that's packed into that, right? So it's a big responsibility, and you have a sizable student body too. But then also, as a mentor, how are you able to give so much, and also to shift and juggle, right? What are some tips in terms of being able to compartmentalize and or not do that? I don't know. Basically, I'm asking you help. Send me a life vest. Like, how do you juggle? Because sometimes I feel like I'm juggling in a circus, right? And but I have two extra balls that really, you know, that are gonna
Something
make me
falls through.
strong. Yeah, I'm like, something's gonna fall, something's gonna fall. So how do you do that, or what do you recommend?
Well, it's, I mean, great question, right? I've learned through the years, um, it's setting boundaries. And people
Mm.
tell me like, Anita, it's impossible to do. It is possible to do. I've done it. So, and again, that looks differently for everyone, for different people. I remember, this was back when I lived in Virginia, and starting my career. I was at that time an associate dean at an institution in Virginia, and I remember my daughter was probably, I don't know, 2, 3 years old, plus or minus, and it was nighttime. Let's say around 8 o'clock or so. And I was frantically on emails and writing things and working. And she came around and she's like, Mom, are you working? And the way she said it was a click for me, that I just closed my laptop and said, this is time for her. Right. So
Mhm.
it took me time. It's not easy. No,
Mhm.
it's a bad habit because you want to be there, you want to help, you want to do this. But I had to create that boundary of, this is my work time, right? This is where I work. Some people work 8 to 5, others, right? We might have a more flexible schedule, but things linger into 6, 7 later at night or so. So I've tried to maintain that boundary, that then tomorrow is another day where I can
Mhm.
take writing my list. What's my list, my to-do list? And out of 10 things, what does Anitza essentially need to do today? Because if this doesn't get done, everything gets a hole. And
Mm.
setting priorities big. Because sometimes we want to do so many things. Sometimes, I hear people a lot, and myself included, because I've said it a number of times as well. It's like, oh, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. But the question is, are you being productive? Because I could be
Hmm.
very busy and not be productive. I'd say
Right.
setting the boundary and scheduling time for yourself, it's also critical because we give so much, right? As entrepreneurs in our jobs, to our family. And again, as I said earlier, we forget the most important person, which is you. It's me. If I'm not okay, then it trigger because then I'm not in a happy mood, which then translate into right. Le traigo atrapada ante el esposo.
See, see.
My
Yeah.
daughter asked me, Mom,
All hell breaks loose. All hell breaks loose.
exactly. My daughter asked me, Mom, are you triggered? And when she asked me that, that's my cue. Like, Anita, you need to refocus here.
Yeah.
You need to change the wires. When it's juggling thing, it's like, okay, this is my work time. This is my work schedule. This is what I'm doing. And anything else, right? In terms of my mentoring, my coaching, business outside, it's all outside. It's weekends, right? And
Hmm.
it's say, hey, if it's Saturday, and my daughter, she might work, as a teenager, wake up around noontime.
Yeah.
I might get a little, early, have some breakfast. My husband spend some time. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna take 1 or 2 hours to do X thing before we go out and go out to whatever we're gonna do that day. So
Yeah.
it's managing that time, and at the end of the day, I mean, we all have 24 hours. And I'm sure that's all we got. But
Yeah.
we manage our own agenda. Sometimes
Mhm.
it was like, oh, I need to manage time. No, you got to manage yourself. That's what we need to do. I'm
Not,
gonna say
not
that so
time.
you asked me the question. You asked me the question.
That
You
I
gotta
love
manage
that. I love that. I love that because yes, we always think about the calendar, but it's not really the calendar, it's you. You're not managing your time, you're managing yourself. Oh my God, to me, that was like just now.
because I bet if I get your agenda, I'm gonna find time for me
Yeah,
to some quiet time. But we
yeah,
have the bad habit. I have it myself every so
yeah,
often that we go back to back, back to back, back to back. Without, and then at the end we're so drained that we no servimos para nada cuando llegamos a la casa.
yeah, yeah. We're good to know one when when we
Or
get
to
back
know what.
home. Yeah, yes, we're good to
So
know one. Yeah,
it's a matter of spreading it out and setting those priority of, okay, what, this is my day, this is my to-do list. And of course, having some flexibility, because as we all know, life can turn you a curveball at some
yeah,
point, and then everything you had in your list will probably go down the drain because you got to focus. I didn't maybe
right.
have emergency, is something, a new deadline, or maybe you got, in your case, someone shared with you a proposal that it's due in 2 days, so you got to shift things around. So I
Yeah,
always say, leave room for flexibility, for
yeah,
those kind of things that are going to happen.
yeah. Like a little bit of cushion. Yeah, to me, I had an epiphany during this break that we just took because I realized for the first time, and it's sad, right? I've been in business for 13 years now, going on 14, and my son is going to be 15, right? So we started this business when he was 9 months old. And so I realized that my son and now my daughter, who's 12, don't know any other version of mommy that is not hustling, right? And on the phone and in meetings and in and out and writing proposals and, having powwow sessions with our teams. And they hear this constantly, right? And having difficulty unplugging after a certain hour because, again, we have this. I wrote something about this recently on LinkedIn. It's like I realized that it's a form of PTSD. It's like as a business owner and a small business owner, you have, I don't have a paycheck every 2 weeks, right? So I have this sense of that if I stop, you know, I'm going financial ruin is there, right? It's right there, ready to catch me. It's like a gotcha moment, right? It's like, Sami, if you stop working, if you stop hustling,
Here.
I'm here and I'm gonna, and it's gonna be like, gotcha. Now you're screwed, right? And having that fear of losing my house, right? Like we had at the beginning of, when the recession happened, which is when we started the business of almost losing the house, of not having our credit shot, right? Of, it's there and it's real. And it's this, it builds this anxiety and another type of fear, right?
Mhm.
Of failure, of not having, of not succeeding, and of also impacting, right, the future of your kids and not having that stability. And so anyway, we disconnected for those 2 weeks. And when we traveled back, because we went abroad, I went to a whole other country, right? I had to, because if not, impossible to disconnect. So we went to Mexico, and on our way back, um, I asked my daughter, Catalina, I say, Oye, what was your favorite part of the whole vacation? And she told me that you were able to chill, that you didn't work, and that hit me like it made me happy, but it was also like a dagger, right, in the
Mhm.
pit of my stomach. But I became aware, right, of the fact that this is all she's seen her whole life. She's
Yeah.
only seen us work and work and work and work and make sure that things are okay and pick up the call, when it rings. I have people tell me, coño, your phone rings once, that does it, like it rings once and you pick up. It's like this thing, right? That, I don't let emails sit there. Like I get an email and I do my best to answer within a 2 hour time frame. It's like a pet peeve I have. It's like this constant, this is it. It's this constant sense of urgency to perform. And you know, her telling me that when we came back just gave me this extra pause. Like we paused
Mhm.
during the vacation, right? But this extra pause to say, pero ven acá, wait a second. Maybe, just maybe, right? I need to do things differently, right? And this is not New Year's resolutions. This is not goals. Is just a shift in the way you
Mhm.
think and rewiring, right? But it takes those someone like your kid, right? Triggering this thought. And so I'm sharing this because the same thing happened to me, not when my kid was two, unfortunately, right? But still there's time, right? There's time to,
Yeah.
yeah, there's
There's always
time.
time to make the critical thing. The most important thing is that you're aware of it. Right
Yeah.
back then, before this trip, you were not aware of it,
Hmm.
and your daughter brought it to your awareness to say, "Mom, this is what it." Now Sami is able to make the changes. Before, Sami wasn't automatically, let's perform, let's here, go, go, go. And at the end of the day, you also got to stop and think. It's like, look, I know if I don't do this, the business, but if I'm not good, what good am I gonna be for my family, right?
Right.
For my kids when they need me. So now that it's in your word, and it's gonna, hey, I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, it's not gonna be easy,
No,
right?
it's not.
Because
Yeah.
handling all those years, right, of being on the go there, it just, I remember when we traveled so abroad last year, and with the time difference, my husband says like, you might want to put your phone on do not disturb because you don't want to get those ring. And that was I never did the do not respond the disturb. Now it's like I love it. I because they don't ring. But the reality is that we have so many distractions. I mean,
See.
phones, technology is amazing, but it's a huge distraction because the minute we hear the ding, we're like, oh, what is it? I would check, and sometimes it's just like, hey, turn off the notifications. Leave the most important, your text message and your email and your phone to ring. I sometimes
Mhm.
think about back in the day, and I'm not dating myself here, but back
But
in
you
the
are.
but I am, where all you heard was a busy line, and that was it, and you
Mm-hmm.
knew, and you kept on,
Crying, yeah.
or moving until
Or you gave up, or you
or you
gave
gave
up and
up,
said, I'll
and
just
then
catch the next
and that
one.
was it, and we all knew to wait,
Mm-hmm.
right? But now it's what? It's a sense of urgency. I sent her a text. Oh, she hasn't responded. Well, I don't know. I might be, in a meeting. I might be, I don't know, having some lunch. I might be trying to solve a situation, right? Doing things. But it's that sense that things have to be like done
Yeah.
now. Right? And
Yes.
that's where boundaries, and it takes time. Like I said, before, it just takes time. Now I say, when it's Friday, or during the week, I close my work laptop and I don't open it till the next day, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
then evening is time to watch the show. To from then I might have a coaching call, right? I'm gonna have other things in place. But that's the way it is. And if there's an emergency, people know how to reach me. I
Yeah.
and again, that I know some other jobs might not be, because you might be the essential employee that needs to be 24, but it's letting people know. Right? It's like, remember one time I told my team, I'm taking Friday off. So if you need me, make sure you send me the email before 5 p.m. I might be able to read it then, but if not, you have to wait on Monday. Right?
Right.
And it's part of being vulnerable. And I
Mm-hmm.
had to learn that as well
Mm-hmm.
through the struggle, through year of like, ay, pero si no lo hago, ay, pero no, no. I have to show up vulnerable, because if I am not, then what service am I gonna be to others? Right? So they're like, oh, have a great day, enjoy, right? Enjoy your day off. How was your day off? It's that mind shift. It's changing. I'm big on mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So some of us, right, we grew up with a fixed mindset. It's this or that, and that's it.
Right. Right.
No, let's move. Let's change that shift. Let's change the wire, reprogram ourselves to know that things can be done differently. Right? The other
Mm-hmm.
day, I was talking to someone who's like, "Oh, I can't do this. It's impossible." I'm like, "Okay, can we change that? What can you do to learn that skill?" What? I'm like, oh. So instead of telling me you cannot do it, tell me, what can you do to
Mm-hmm.
learn that skill? That's a mindset shift. I
Mm-hmm.
told my husband recently, I'm like, look, I don't want negative energy around me. What? I'm like, no, if it's not serving me, if it's not adding value to me, why would I add it to my life? No, I
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to change, right? That positive energy out there. Because if it's negative, then it's like, all
And
the time. In,
And can I tell you something? I'm glad that you mentioned that because as a business owner, an entrepreneur, you're always like, oh my God, I need to, say yes to everything and, find any client. It doesn't matter what it is, I just need to land the business, right? And I've learned throughout the years, and I feel so blessed because as a business owner, Urbander has like I'm not just saying this, you know, the best, we have the best partner clients. I mean, grace, completely understanding, just real people, right? That you can have real conversations like this with, which is really cool because then they know that you're, a high performer and all of that.
Mhm.
And actually, that some of them were encouraging me to like, girl, yeah, you need a break, And so it's comforting, right, to know that we're working with people that are also real. Do they want, results? Do they want outcomes? Do they want production? But they also um, are empathetic and sympathetic, right? Because they've been there and we've been able to have these conversations on a one-to-one more deeper and personal level. And so I think it's important to establish these open channels of communication, right? To share vulnerable, moments with the people around you, even clients, right? Or collaborators, because sometimes we want to give like this front that, oh, everything's fine, everything's in order. But no, if today I'm like ripping my hair out, then today I'm ripping my hair out,
Exactly.
right? So then,
And that's, I think also,
and you need to know it, and you need to know it because I know I'm not at my best today, right? But just give me an hour or two, or give me till tomorrow. Trust me, it'll be amazing, but I just need to, pull it together,
one exercise that I love doing, and I learned this through some trainings I've done, is just when you walk into a workshop or if I'm facilitating or so. And I remember I did this at a workshop I did last year, um, with Latina women, and I asked them, in one word, describe in terms of the weather, for example, how do you feel today, right now, in
Mm,
this moment? And granted, this was like a 5:30, 6 p.m. workshop, and because I wanted to know the energy in the room.
mhm,
Most of the answers were like tornado, um, rainy, cloudy. Well, so I knew coming in that I had to change things around, spices up, because people were drained from their day.
yeah,
Sometimes if we understand, if I understand, hey, that Sami is going through a rough time, or maybe something happened, I can give Sami that grace. Right?
mhm,
Being say like it's gonna be okay. Let's why don't we talk tomorrow, and then we
mhm,
can move forward. And it's always understand. We're so quick to react.
mhm,
In the moment, we're so quick to react. I like to say, let's respond. The
yeah,
reaction with when you react to something, you don't think, you boom react, poof, off it goes. When you
mhm,
respond, you take that time to say, let me think through it. I always remember my perfect example is emails. You get the email and you're like, and you start writing it, da, 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 and then you send it off, and when you read it, you're like, ¿qué dije?
right,
No, no, that's when you let me take a step back, let me write it. No, because whatever you have, just write it down, sleep on it, take a walk, put it out there, and then go back and read it, and then actually respond to the
mm,
message. Again, we're just so used to it has to be now that we lose track, right? And then we
mhm,
lose also who we are. And being vulnerable, I know for me, has taken me time to learn that, to say, hey, I'm taking this day off, or no, today I'm not feeling okay. It's like sometimes like when your husband says, are you okay? Yeah. It's like, are
yeah,
you really okay?
mm,
And then you like spit it out. Like this is what's happening. So just
yeah.
being vulnerable, it helps, and it helps in understanding as well both the other person.
Yeah. Do you think that having this collective experience of going through COVID and still going through COVID, right? Okay, this seems like,
We're still in it.
oh my God, it's a little much, right? It's exhausting, and I personally don't see the light at the end of the tunnel at this point, right? So, but do you feel that this collective experience has made people more sensitive to others, and to be more understanding, and I don't want to say lenient, but more flexible and more understanding.
I would say yes, and there's still the pack, right? The few that's like, nope, you gotta think this way. But I think
Mhm,
overall, we've been more understanding to say, I'm sick, and I cannot perform. I'm not at my best today, and just being able to say that and understand, and say, hey, maybe my working hours might be different from yours because we have different situations in place. And at the same time, I've experienced where I've have to work to people and say, hey, take a step back. We don't know what's going on in the other person's life. Right? When,
mhm,
when you get that email or you get that phone call and you're like, this person, da, da, da. Well, stop. Let's time out. Let's
mhm,
think through the situation and think. We don't know if this person is going through a rough time. We don't know if this person is sick. What's the underlining message? Right? Sometimes
right,
I tell people, when I with students, a person is not going to tell you, I don't have money for a book. I don't have money for this. I'm in.
right,
They're not going to say. They're going to say, oh,
right,
I forgot to do it. Oh, I forgot to buy it. They're giving 20 other excuses. But when you
Mhm.
start peeling the onion and you start asking questions, that's what's the beauty of coaching, right? That you ask the questions, it all unravels to I don't have the financial means to pay for
Mhm.
a book, right? Or I
Right.
don't have the financial means to pay my water bill,
Mhm.
whatever it is. And
Mhm.
that's you need to stop and say, what's going on the other side? Let me see
Right.
if I can without assuming. Sometimes we're quick to assume what could happen without assuming and judging. So we don't know
Right.
the other person's situation.
Right. The full context,
The
right?
full
Now some
picture.
yeah, exactly. Now some
Let me
people are just
ask you,
assholes. Exactly.
I'll
Some
give you
people
a
are
quick
just yeah, some people are just assholes, right? But for the most part, there's context, right? Behind
exactly.
a certain reaction that we need to, yeah,
And we
pause.
need to pause and calm the other person. I'll tell you a quick story. Last year, we traveled to the Dominican Republic, and getting there was like, oh, it was hard. It was one of those things that I'm like, nope, I'm committed. This is where we're going. And I remember, at the terminal, going through security. We had a lot of bumps. Husband was getting itchy. My daughter was like, "What's going on?" And I was the one maintaining the calm. And I remember telling the employee, the TSA employee, that was like, look, I understand you're under a lot of stress. I get it. But you also have to understand that our flight was canceled yesterday and that I was supposed to be at this conference today, being sitting there taking place. So before you jump into conclusions, just know there's a story also behind me. I and that by saying that calmly, which in a busy airport is not easy, but it's
Yeah,
doable. The person, his demeanor changed completely, Samin.
yeah.
Completely. Once I told him, I understand you're under stress.
Hmm.
I get it. And you also have to understand that every passenger here has a story behind it.
Right.
It's not
Hmm.
jumping to conclusions. That
Right.
changed the whole thing. Ma'am, how can I help you? Move forward, move
Yeah.
things. It's
Yeah.
that change.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And that's what it takes, right? Just knowing what to say to be able to de-escalate certain situations, right? But it comes from a place of empathy, of just
Mhm.
knowing that you don't have full context, that you don't have the entire story. You know your story, but not so much, right? The story
Exactly.
about the people around us. Listen, Anita, this has been fantastic. Is there anything that you want to leave us with, as a word of encouragement, as we start this new year and we're still faced with the same challenges in many cases, right? That we have for the past 2 years, not only COVID, but I mean, just the tensions that in the world, right? And everything that comes with that, like the economic strife and the struggles and the children not having the access to the education that they need, and just because it's like a ripple effect, right? Like a
Mhm.
domino effect, what this whole thing has impacted so many facets of our lives. So is there any words of encouragement that you
Yes.
might want to share with us?
I would say to me is for us to always take a moment to pause and to reflect. I'm big on reflecting and knowing this is where I am right now. This is where I was last year. Where am I heading? I think those three questions are very important for us to know as we start this year. Right? This 2022, we have a whole year ahead of us. And if you have a dream, if you have a goal, start taking action. De nada nos sirve saying like, I wish I could do if I don't take an action step, if I don't do something. And it doesn't have to be something big, right? It doesn't have a big step, baby steps. Daily action step are going to get you closer to that goal, to that dream that you have. But you got to take the action. I can guide you. I know Sami in your job as well. You can guide people right through that. But at the end of the day, it's your own responsibility, right? To take the ownership of that and just to do everything it's possible. I hear people say, no, that's impossible. No, no, things are possible. Everything is possible, but you got to trust in yourself. You got to believe as well in yourself, and you got to take the action. If you don't take action, we're not. And also invest in yourself. I think that's, also an advice. Invest in yourself, in your own growth. Growth happens every day. It doesn't happen in one day, right? When we plant our seed, that seed, we don't plant it today and tomorrow we get a nice flower. It takes time, right? Same with us. Let's invest in ourselves. Let's give us time. Let's be more patient. And by patient, taking that step back and say, okay, where am I? This is where I am today. Hey, this is where I was last year. Look of everything I have accomplished. Where am I heading now? And celebrate. I think, to me, that's very important. Celebrate even the smallest wins. That tiny thing that you think it's no importa mucho, it's not like a big deal. Celebrate it because you did it.
Thank you so much, Anitza. This was great. I feel like we're caught up now, and I'm sure that we're going to have a conversation offline, to figure out ways that we can collaborate. And I'm so thankful that we finally made this time together. Thank you for being here with me
Thank you.
today.
Thank you, Sami. Appreciate it.
This concludes this episode of I Have Something to Say. We want to thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to tell your friends about us. We're on Spotify and iTunes as well. There's more to come next week. And remember, if you have something to say, it's time to speak up.